Yo, what's up people? Hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to be showing you 5 must-know SaaS animation techniques that will make you a pro. And if you want to join a community full of like-minded video editors and get free assets, you can join my Discord, linked in the pinned comment. And without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the tutorial. The first essential to SaaS animations is going to be backgrounds, obviously. So they use very simplistic and maybe 2 or only 3 colors, maybe a gradient, etc. But for this one, I'm going to be showing you how to do a color pulse background gradient, which is a really underrated one that I think you should take advantage of. And if you want to get access to any of my project files, including this one, or simply support me, you can go on my Patreon, linked in the pinned comment. Alright, let's get into it. So here I have a 1920 by 1080 composition. And the first thing we're going to do is come to the rectangle tool, change it to a fill. The color doesn't matter. We're just going to double click the rectangle in the top here to fill the comp. And then we're going to come to the effects and presets tab and type a gradient ramp. Drag it on. And then we're going to make this end color a nice blue with the hex code 0070FF. Obviously you can use whatever color you want. I just chose a nice blue. And then we're going to change it to radial ramp. And we're going to get the black and move it into the center here as close as possible. And then after that, we are going to come to the end of ramp. And we're just going to move the blue down to about here. And then we're going to come to the end of ramp animate and click the animation. Press U with the layer selected and drag the keyframe to around 2 seconds-ish. Then come to the start with the playhead. And then drag the blue as close as you can into the center here. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to highlight the keyframes. And then we're going to go keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then go to the graph editor. And we're going to make a sharp L graph. It's going to look just like this. Super basic, very essential. Like a great way to start scenes off in your animation, or simply just have like a hard cut and then boom, because it like instantly starts. Bonus tip alert. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Bonus tip. So if you see here, I don't know if you can see this on YouTube because of the compression, but on your preview, you'll definitely be able to see these lines. It's called color banding, and it happens in gradients a lot. So if you see it's super high and you want to get rid of it, come to project and make sure this is from 8 to 16. And then you come to the effects and presets tab and type noise. And you're going to just drag it on there and make it anywhere from 1. Make sure the use color noise is off. And make it anywhere from 1 to 2. So I think 2 is a bit excessive. So 1 works perfectly here. Yeah, I mean, you can't see it, but on your monitor, it will definitely help. So technique number 2 is going to be a cursor animation. I think they're highly underutilized and definitely something you should take advantage of. So what I have here is Windows XP cursors. They'll be free in my free assets Discord channel, so you can go and use them for whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just going to mask around them because I just want this cursor here. And for now, we can just hide this. Next, I have this Apple logo that I just got off Google. So I'm going to resize it to the center, and then I'm going to add the effect gradient ramp and make it from white to blue. So I swap the colors, and then I'm just going to pick a nice blue here. That'll do. And then I'm just going to pull the blue quite far down, something like that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Maybe 20. I think that's a little too big. 17. 16, that'll do. We're going to make sure it's centered using the align tool. Next thing I'm going to do is come to the rectangle tool and change it from fill to a white stroke. Leave it at 2, and then I'm going to hold shift and click to create a box roughly around the Apple logo, and I'm going to align it into the center, and then I can resize it where I need to by typing in size. I'm just going to make it smaller, like so, and then I'm going to unlink it by clicking that little chain. I'm going to move it however I want, something like that. Maybe something like this. And then what I'm going to do is rename it to box. And then I'm going to come back to the rectangle tool and turn the stroke off, and then turn the fill back on and make sure it's white. I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to hold shift and click and make a really small stroke box, and then right click, transform, and center the anchor point. And then I'm going to rename it to stroke, not stroke box, corner box. And then come to the crosshair here and go proportional grid. And then I'm going to make sure it's perfectly centered. And then inside the rectangle contents, I'm going to Control D on it so we don't have tons and tons of layers. Then I'm going to Control D again, make sure it's in the corner. Obviously you'd spend more time doing this than I am right now. I'm just doing it really quickly for the sake of the tutorial. Control D again, Control D, and then that should be good. We zoom out, see if it needs resizing. Move it a little bit more to the left, so I'm going to quickly parent the corner box to the regular box. Move it like so. Just line it a bit. Sweet. I think that's good. All right, next we're going to come to the box layer. We're going to select it, and we're going to move the anchor point using this tool up here to this square in the corner here. And then we're going to come to around 1.5 seconds. I'm going to press S on our keyboard to bring up the scale. And then come over to like here. Maybe just over 1 second. And have it start from 0. And then we're going to do a regular speed graph like so. See how fast it is if you want to change it. Sweet. Alright, after animating the scale on the box, we're going to take the cursor and we're going to make it size 4. And then we're going to come to the last keyframe of the box. And we're just going to place the cursor in the top left box in the middle. And we're going to rotate it a little bit, make it look as good as we need it to be. Then we're going to press P on our keyboard. And we are simply going to move that keyframe to the start, and then this one will come all the way to here, down into this bottom left box. I'm going to copy the exact same graph, easy. I'm going to make it a regular speed graph here. Okay, and then we can take a look at it. Sweet. Now, you can see here, we have a lot of room before the keyframes. So we're going to come to the start at around 30 seconds. And we're going to grab the cursor and we're just going to pull it off screen down here. And then we are going to right click this keyframe only, keyframe interpolation and spatial interpolation, and change it to Bezier. Because when you're moving a mouse, it's obviously not perfectly straight always. And we're just going to curve it like so, pull it however we want it to be. And then we're going to make this graph a nice mountain graph as usual. And take a look at what we've done so far. Sweet. And then right now what we need to do is duplicate the box. And then we're going to rename it to matte. And we're going to put it above the Apple logo. And then we're going to change it from a stroke to a regular fill. The color doesn't matter. I just use reds for my mattes. And then we're going to take this pick whip next to the no matte on the Apple layer. And we're going to just use the box as the matte for the Apple layer. Like so. Alright, now we're going to animate the rotation on the cursor. So we're going to press R on the cursor. Or first press U and then Shift and R. And animate the rotation. So I'm going to move this keyframe to the middle point for the position. And we're going to have a look at how it comes out. So it comes out here. So we'd want to change it to even lower in the minuses. So I think minus 13 is about good. And we're just going to make it a regular speed graph with, that's easy ease without a speed graph. Like so. Just something really subtle that you wouldn't really notice, but it adds to it for sure. Okay, so after animating the rotation keyframes, we're going to come to this last point on the position. I'm going to come to about a second 30 forwards. And then we're going to take the cursor and we're just going to have it leave off top left screen. And we're going to right click it again and go to keyframe interpolation and make it Bezier again. Make the curve like so. It's like subtle. And then make the graph a nice mountain graph. let's see what we've done so far and if we need to change anything. Sweet. I think we can make the speed graph a little bit faster. So I'm just going to make it a little bit tighter. Sweet, I think that's good. Now I'm going to show you how to add glow onto the outline only that moves around on the logo like you always see in SaaS animations. So I'm going to duplicate the Apple logo and then I'm going to rename it to glow. Now I'm come to the effects and presets tab and we're going to type up CC light sweep, sorry. And then add it to the glow. And then we are going to make the light reception cutout. And then you can solo the glow layer to make it easier for you. I'm going to make it smooth. And then the direction 0 for now. And then the width can be significantly higher. Maybe something around 420. That's pretty good. And then the sweep intensity has to be 0. Then the edge intensity can be 150. And then we can make the edge thickness to about 5. And then the outside color can be a really nice bright blue, like so. And then you can add glow to this if you want. The stock glow is fine, but I'm going to add deep glow. I'm going to make the radius 250. And then the exposure 0.25. And then you are going to animate the opacity and the direction of this layer only. So we're going to unsolo it, and then we're going to look at our keyframes for the mat here, or the box, and it starts opening here. So I'm going to have the glow start around here. So I'm going to press T and animate the opacity. So I'm going to have it start like this. So 0 from 100. Maybe spread it out even more. So it starts like this. Maybe a little further. And then we can have it end over here. Like so. And we're just going to make it easy ease without animating the graph at all. You can cut it down. You don't need it to be that big. And then we're going to animate the direction of the CC light sweep. So pressing U on our keyboard to bring up the keyframes. We're just going to come to our last frame and make it 1. So for the third technique, I'm going to show you a star transition. It's really common, super simple as well. So you're going to come up to the star shape tool. If you don't see this, hold and click, select it. Color doesn't matter because we're going to add gradient ramp. Then I'm going to hold shift and click, make a star. The size doesn't really matter. Make sure the anchor point is centered. Then come to the polystar path and make the points 4. Then the inner radius can be lower. Then the outer radius can be around 300-ish. Then the inner roundness is going to be around 260, like so. Sweet, maybe increase the inner radius a bit more, something like that. Then I'm going to right click the shape layer and transform, and then center the anchor point, and then rename it to star transition. And we are going to have it start at around where the cursor starts to move off. So here will be good. And then we're going to have it be around 2-ish seconds. So like this. The first thing we're going to do for this is animate the scale from 0 to however big is half the size of the screen. So I'm going to move the point to around here, the center of the top left box. And then I'm going to click scale animate, come to roughly the middle of the transition and increase the scale massively. So this is probably good, about half the size of the screen. Now I'm going to press P on our keyboard to bring up the position and then click it and then have it start here. So that keyframe that you've just moved is the start one. And then I'm going to move it to the top left, roughly like so, like this, just the top left. Then after moving it to the top left, I'm going to come to the second to last keyframe and I'm going to move it all the way to the right, like so. Maybe a little bit further, like that. this sticking out doesn't matter because we're going to add rotation keyframes. And then I'm going to make the scale a nice mounting graph like we usually do. Like so. Something like that, nice and subtle. Then the position is also going to be made easy ease. And we're going to make these two both regular speed graphs. And then I'm going to select the center point here. I'm going to make it continuous. So we're going to drag the point upwards to about here, like so. So they're both in the air. So now they don't stop moving and they're entirely continuous in the animation. Because before it would have gotten to that point there and then just stopped and started again. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And then now we are going to animate the rotation. So we're going to press R on our keyboard and press U to bring up the rotation. I'm going to come to the last keyframe and make it -1. And then we're going to drag backwards so that the star isn't off screen. Maybe the other way, so like this. Yeah, so -330, and we're just going to make it easy ease with no graph. Right now it's looking a bit slow, so we're going to highlight all the keyframes, hold Alt and click, and drag them back a little bit. Something like that. Let's take a look. Okay, that's looking much better. Maybe even a little bit too fast, move it a little bit back. Then we're going to cut the frames we're not using. With the transition done, I'm going to add the effect gradient ramp. And I'm going to make the black a nice blue color, like so. Then I'm going to press U on our keyboard and go to the middle keyframes and animate the start of ramp, press U. And I'm going to leave that one there. And then I'm going to come to the first frame and put blue on where the star will come out. Then I'm going to come to the last keyframe and just move the blue off screen over here. Then I'm going to make it a easy ease and we can have a look at how it is. I think I'm actually going to have it go on the last keyframe in the other direction. So it looks like a white, white sort of takes over it. I like that a lot. Alright, now you have your very cool star animation transition. For the fourth technique, I'm going to show you how to do a bar graph into a transition animation, which is a really interesting way of showing data in a visually pleasing way. And then we're going to go to the proportional grid to turn it on, pen stroke tool, and make the stroke whatever color you want, and the size 115. And I'm just going to come here and click and then hold shift and click like so, just like this. Then I'm going to make sure it is centered on this line here, like so. Then I'm going to rename it bar. And then what I'm going to do is add the effect trim paths, not effect, the whatever, just add trim paths. Then come into the trim paths control, which is under contents. Okay, so animate the end over roughly a second and then make it go from 0 to 100, and then make them regular speed graphs. And then let's have a look, like so. And then we're going to copy this bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, so like that. And we're going to move the second one over to here. And the third one over to this line. That's embarrassing. I miscounted. I need one more. Need 7. Okay, and then you're just going to resize them. So basically stagger them all up to a bigger size to make it more appealing, like this. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Like so. Maybe make this one a little bit taller. Make number 5 that much taller. So, and then this last one is going to come off screen because this is going to be the part where we transition to the next scene. So we can have a look here. They're all coming up at the same time right now. So what we're going to do is highlight all of the layers and press U on our keyboards. Highlight the keyframes for every single one except the first one, and we're just going to drag them out like so. So it's staggered. So I think they're too slow at the moment. So I'm going to highlight all of the bars, and I'm going to highlight them all and then go to the last one, hold Alt and click and drag them inwards a bit. Then now we're just going to add some gradient ramp to these bars. So I'm going to make it a really subtle fade in. So like so. Move the points so they're underneath each other. I'm going to make this black a nice blue color, like I did before, and I'm going to drag it up so it's subtle, like so. Then I'm going to copy this and put it on the other bars, and you have to make sure that the other bars' color positions are different because their sizes are different. So like that. I'm going to copy that again, paste it, then drag this to the start. Drag this one here, then drag it up, and copy that. I'm just going to cut to when this is done because you get the idea already. Okay, so this is what I'm finally left with. I've just moved the keyframes to be slightly quicker and move them closer together. So like this. And I've also just done the gradients as I mentioned before. So I've left it here, and now this is where you'd cut, maybe a little bit shorter like here, to the next scene. So that leads us perfectly into technique 5. So for technique number 5, I have the background that I made earlier in the first technique, and then I have the bar graph transition that I mentioned, and I just have it cut to when it reaches the peak here. And what I'm going to do is come to the rounded rectangle tool, which is just here, and then I'm going to make sure nothing's selected, and I'm just going to make a nice small rounded rectangle. Then make sure the anchor point is centered, and then I'm going to come to the align tab and center it. Then go to the rectangle roundness and make it 100 to make it fully circular, and then have it start the same point the background does. And then we're just going to rename this to rounded rectangle. And then we're going to position animate it. So press P on our keyboard and drag this over to about here. Then drag it off screen. So this is about 40-ish seconds, 30-ish seconds. And then we're going to highlight both keyframes and then easy ease. Then make it a sharp L graph, so it comes up really quickly. And then we're going to copy this last keyframe and put it about there. And then we're going to make this one come up like this. So it's an animation fundamental. It's like anticipation and bounce and squash and stretch or whatever. I don't know which one it is, but it adds depth and physics to things, and it's very important to learn. And then we're going to come into the graph editor and make the 2 points we've just made a regular speed graph. So it's an L shape and then just a regular easy ease speed graph. So it's like this. Let's have a look. And then we're going to come into the rounded rectangle part. The roundness part we changed earlier. I'm going to animate that, and I'm going to animate the size. And I'm going to press U on our keyboard to bring up the keyframes. And here, I'm going to drag these keyframes to the middle in between the drop and anticipation keyframes we did on position. So then I'm going to change the size. So I'm going to unlock it and change the size to be like this. So it's like a long tube that we can put text in. And then I'm also going to increase the height a little bit. And then change the roundness to a little less, like so. So it's back at 20. And then we can increase the size a little more. We can link it again and make the size bigger. And I'm going to highlight these keyframes and then easy ease. And then what I'm going to do is do a regular speed graph. So having both of them selected, select this point and then drag like so. And then like that. So it's like this. I think that's a bit slow still, so I'm going to select the points, hold Alt and click in, so like that. Sweet. So it sort of bounces. And then what we are going to do is go to our cursor that we dragged in earlier and pull it in from our assets. And what we want is the click from it. So we're going to rename it to click, then rescale it, and then going to just mask around the click hand we wanted. Sweet. and then center the anchor point like so. Make it about 4. And then we're going to make a marker where it starts to get big. So you want it clicking like just on the keyframe. So make a marker there. Okay, now we're going to position animate the cursor. So we want to press P on our keyboard, animate it, and then move this point where the marker is to be where it will click. And then I'm just going to have it come down roughly a little bit off-centered. Then we're going to change the keyframes to be a nice mountain graph. I think a little bit more tilted like this. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. So it comes in and clicks. I think I'm going to move the position to be a little bit more of the finger clicking. And then I'm going to animate the rotation. So leave that at 100 and then change this to around -16. So it's tilted this way when it comes in. And we're just going to leave it as a normal speed graph. So it comes in like that. And then we're going to scale animate it. So when it clicks, so here, just going to do a in to 3.5, like so, and then copy the 4, paste it over here, and just do an easy ease. Let's have a look. I'm actually going to move the click to be 2 keyframes to the left of the final position keyframes. So it's like that. So it sort of comes in and preemptively clicks. It's more smooth that way. Now we're going to add a gradient ramp to the circle. So I'm going to come to the rounded rectangle and drag on gradient ramp and make the black a nice blue color because that's the color scheme I've chosen. And then I'm going to move the white to here and then the blue to here. And then I'm going to animate both of these points, so start of ramp and end of ramp. Press U on our keyboard and then go to where it is fully outwards. And then I'm going to move the blue all the way over here and the white here. So it's a really nice subtle look. So it starts and it clicks outwards. And then I'm going to make it easy ease. And before these keyframes, because the bar graph is blue at the top and then white at the bottom, we're going to come to the first keyframes and I'm just going to make the blue come all the way to the top here. So roughly at the top, and then the white roughly at the bottom as well. So then this happens like that. And then when it clicks, it pulses outwards. After adding gradient ramp to the shape, we're going to animate the click cursor off screen. So we're going to press U on our keyboard and we're going to copy these position and rotation keyframes. So Control C and then Control V them, so about here. And then we're going to have it position off screen about here. And we're just going to position the cursor like so. And then I'm going to make this Bezier. And I'm going to make it like so, a nice subtle curve. And then I'm going to also rotate it to about -16. And then I'm going to highlight these keyframes and easy ease them. So in the graph, they are easy to use. And then I'm going to make it like so, like a nice mountain, like this, clicks, and then comes off screen. Sweet. Now we can animate the text. I'm just going to use the font SF Pro, which is the Apple font, and I'm just going to type please subscribe, which is what you should do. And then I'm going to center the anchor point and align it and make it significantly smaller so it fits in the box like so. Then have it start here and then add the effect gradient ramp and have this black be a nice blue. Then drag it down to about here and then move the white. Maybe make it a little bit more dark. Sweet. So it fits in a little better. Move the white up a tiny bit, just so it's subtle. Then we can maybe increase the scale, like so. Get below the click, and then I'm going to go into the animate, and I'm going to add a scale. Then I'm going to set the scale to 0. And then come into the range selector and open advanced as well. Then I'm going to make keep the start 0 and the end 0, but then make the offset 100. Then I'm going to make the shape ramp up, and then the ease high be -100, and the ease low 100. And then this will be a nice scale in animation that you can save as a preset for you. So what I'm going to do is then animate the offset from 100. So I'm going to put the 100 keyframe over here and then have it start at -100. So it scales in here, as you can see. And then you can make the keyframes easy ease without a graph, and then change it to however you want it. Stretch it out a little bit further. The keyframes are a bit fast for me. Like so. So it comes in. And then finally, we are going to come to the circle tool. And we are going to make a circle pulse on the click. So it's just another thing you can add to add some extra sauce. You can make this whatever color you want. I'm just going to leave it as white for now. Hold shift, click. Size doesn't matter because we'll be animating it. Center the anchor point and then align it in the middle. Call this click circle. And then move it to there, and then have the scale and opacity animated. So have it go from 0 at 50% at the start, and then it will go outwards to about here. I'd say is good. 1 keyframe before. Have the scale be really high, and then the opacity be 0, and then make them both easy ease. And let's have a look. So it's a nice click effect, a very easy thing to do. And then yeah. Okay, so that's your 5 essential SaaS animation techniques. I hope you find them helpful, and I hope you use them in unique ways in your projects, as they are just general techniques. And of course, thank you guys for watching. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and drop a like. And if you have any tutorial suggestions, please drop them in the comments, and any of my relevant links and socials will be in the description. And thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.